Today I thought we'd paint some mittens to go along with these hats. I'm going to use a pencil and sketch out all the mitten shapes. And I thought it would be cute to have a pair that matched this red hat, a pair for this polka dot hat, and so on. Let's see, so supplies, all the usual stuff. Watercolor paper, paints, brushes. I'll probably just use my small brush today, but I'm sure you could use whatever brush you happen to have. A water container, a sponge, something to mix up some paints in because a couple of these colors were a mixture. And a pencil. Did I say a pencil? So for mittens, I'm gonna draw them ahead of time. I think that might be easier. And a mitten shape is kind of like tracing your hand without going down between your fingers. So I'm gonna draw for this one, I'm gonna make the mitten, I'll start at the bottom and go up and back down. Oh gosh, that's too big. I need to try and remember that my space ends like right there. That's how much room I have for each mitten. So I'm going up and down. I'm going to do that on the other side. Looks a little bit like a candy cane and a backwards candy cane. And then another little loop for the thumb. And this is why we draw it first. So we can change it, erase a little bit. If you're a person that has a hard time drawing something and feeling satisfied with it, you might want to just paint first. If you're going to erase over and over again, you might want to just paint it and learn something from how you painted it and then do the next one. But if you're a person who's kind of okay with just sketching it out and trying it, then you might pencil it first. So I added a little cuff here and I'm gonna make it match this brim. And now these mittens are gonna be smaller because this is a smaller hat. I'm pretending that it's for, maybe it's for a small child or a toddler. So I'm gonna start these at the bottom still so they all line up at the bottom, but they're shorter, cuter. You know what could be fun for these? I'm gonna attach a little string. You know how toddlers have a string that holds their mittens? It kind of goes, the string will go inside their coat sleeve and around their back and inside the other coat sleeve, and then the mittens, when they get taken off, they don't get lost. So I'm gonna put a string up the side and maybe it swirls and wraps and it comes down to this side. Okay. Now the candy cane mittens. I'm gonna make these also kid mittens so they're a little shorter. And they need a little cuff. And Santa mittens. These need to be pretty big, but I don't have very much room left. So just make them as big as possible here. I'm gonna start at the bottom. They have a big furry white cuff probably. And then big mitten for a big Santa hand. All right, I think the Santa one is the easiest because it was red straight out of my palette. So I'm gonna start with that one. And I remember I had to mix up a little bit of pink too, so I'm gonna be ready to do that. But I'm gonna make the whole mitten red. And then maybe I'll use that pink to outline the white cuff. A bigger brush might be better for coloring in these mittens. I'm gonna switch. Let's try it. You can get so much more paint in a bigger brush, and it fills it in a little faster too. I'm gonna put a little darker red on top. It's not darker red, it's just more red from the palette, and there isn't much water mixed into it. So it shows up a little thicker, a little more saturated. Okay, back to the small brush now, and I'm gonna do these stripes. Oh, I've got a spot to erase. So these stripes, they were sideways for the hat, but I'm just gonna do them straight up and down for the mittens. Wait, I should do them side to side instead of diagonal. And then the cuff could be straight up and down. I'm gonna do that. It's a little bit hard with wet paint right here, but I think I can do it. I'm gonna outline the mitten first. If you're painting these at home, I would love to see the color combinations that you came up with. And maybe you did some patterns that I didn't do. Same with the hats. I put a hashtag in the Instagram post. 24 Days of Watercolors, I'm pretty sure. But if you want to share them, then we can all see what everybody is doing at home. I think that would be so fun. Okay, now some little vertical stripes. I'm going to switch over and do the orange one now and give these a little bit of time to dry. So I'm going to soak up a little of this blob up here. Okay, so with my big brush, I'm going to paint the background. It needs to be this dark orange. If you don't have a dark orange in your palette, maybe you remember what you used for this, and maybe you didn't do orange and red. Maybe you did a different color. And maybe you don't want your mittens to match your hats, but if you do, you could use mix up the same colors. Mine was an orange, a really kind of saturated orange, I think. I'm trying to remember. painted that a couple days ago, actually. So I'm trying to use more paint and less water to just make it a really dark orange. All right, while that's drying, I'm gonna use this bigger brush and do a blue. And I'm remembering that when I did the blue hat, I used this blue and it looked kind of gray. And so I took a lot of the paint back off with a mostly dry brush, and then I was able to make the dots on top pretty easily. I'm gonna try that again. Oh, I'll do these two. Okay, drying the brush, and I'm just gonna kind of, like, it's almost like scraping it back off. I'm painting on top of it and it lifts some of that color back off. And then I'm just dabbing it on my brush to let the paint go off the brush and onto the sponge. Okay, I'm gonna jump back over to the Santa one and I'm gonna mix up a little bit of pink. It's already a little bit pink. I must have had a little red in my brush. I just want a pale pink to outline this cuff. And while I have it, I noticed I never went back along this to outline the fur edge of the front of the Santa hat. So I'll do that. All right, Santa's done, stripes are done. This is dry enough. I think I can do the dark blue circles. And then that orange one is gonna be last, I think. I think it was this color. Let me try. Oh, I'm gonna outline the whole thing. I'll do the string. And now some dots. A lot of the dots are going to be on the edge because there's not a lot of surface space on these, but I'll make some of them so they're mostly showing in the middle and some over the edge. And I think I'll do little tiny polka dots on the brim, the cuff. That's a big dot. Orange is almost dry, but not quite. So I'm going to outline it with red. Is this dry? Nope, not quite. I'm a little bit worried about this part over here. It looks pretty wet. I'll try it. Okay, I'll do the stripes down here. And I'm gonna have to wait to do the stripes on the main part of the mitten. So I'm gonna end the video now, but I'm gonna do vertical stripes on this and then this page will be done. I hope you had fun making mittens and I'd love to see them.